You're listening to Ramsey Everyday Millionaires, where we talk retirement, building wealth, and outrageous generosity. Teddy is with us in New York City. Hi, Teddy. How are you?
Hey, Dave. How are you?
Better than I deserve. What's up?
Thank you for having me on the show again. I called you last year to get a little guidance in terms of my career and whatnot, especially financially. And just to kind of remind you, you told me to potentially hold off on my master's. I'm going to be pursuing that due to the fact that I just got engaged over the summer, and my fiance has one more year in the same school. So we're just going to finish up our degrees, her undergrad, me grad school, and then head to the beautiful state of Florida. But my goal long term is to have a good career and, more importantly, to have financial stability, ideally in the aspect of real estate, passive income and whatnot. I have no real guidance in that regard, so I'd love to get your take on it.
What's your master's in?
Mechanical engineering.
And what career are you pursuing after this?
Mechanical engineering.
Okay. Do you have a job already lined up?
I had a couple for this year, but like I said, I decided to just get my master's. It just didn't seem reasonable to take a job for 1 year and then head to a different state.
Okay.
In addition to that, my master's degree only costs less than $14,000 for the whole program, and I'm currently debt free as well. So it's something that I can reasonably pay off while I'm in school.
That's awesome. How did you pay for your education?
Predominantly through scholarships and some financial aid. I'm in New York, so there's a lot of that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I'm all for you buying some real estate. But when idiots on the internet say real estate is passive income, that means they've never owned any. Because there's nothing passive about dealing with renters and heat and air that goes out and roofs that leak and a coach department shows up and wants to shut you down because somebody across the street cut a sewer line. There's nothing passive about managing real estate. Nothing whatsoever. You want passive, buy a mutual fund. They'll just put the check in your mailbox and you don't have to think anything about it. But real estate ain't passive. It's very active. Even if you're managing the managing company, they've still got to call you and approve the $8,400 new heating and air system that blew up. Or the other day, I had a $26,000 one go out on one of our commercial buildings. Didn't feel passive to me at all. So anyway, I love real estate, but please enjoy the idea that this is going to be some hassle factor that other investments don't have. It does give you a better rate of return that other investments don't have. But when I hear someone say passive income and real estate in the same sentence, it means they've been on get-rich-quick websites. Because they make it sound like, oh, well, the renters will just pay for it. Nope, you're going to pay for it. Maybe the renters pay you. That's how it works in the real world. So, go buy you some real estate after you get your life started and pay cash for it, after you get your home paid off and after you get your 401ks and other stuff started. But this idea that you're going to build a portfolio of heavily debt-ridden real estate and the renters are all going to make you rich is so freaking laughable that it makes my head spin. And it's all by people who have never done it before.
Well, and you're in such a good spot right now. You went through college debt-free. You're walking straight into baby steps 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah.
And I think that's really where your focus needs to be right now. Real estate can happen someday, but focus on retirement starting out and get that primary residence in place and pay that off. Once you get to that spot, then we can start talking about really investing in real estate for profit. But you've got some very clear steps ahead. And if you do that right, you're going to really, especially at the age you're at right now, set yourself up for success versus getting kind of lost in this get rich quick world that's so prevalent right now. Like you said, on TikTok and Instagram, it's like very, very popular, but it's also really leading a lot of new grads down some crazy routes.
Yeah, and sometimes people misunderstand my sarcasm or anger at that stuff, like it's because it disagrees with me. That's not it at all. I know what it's going to do to you. When they mislead you, and you people listening go along with some of this stupid butt stuff that is out there, you're gonna end up like I did in my 20s, broke. I followed the same siren song, the exact same one, only it was just the 1980s version. Okay, and Dave, you just didn't understand. Listen, honey, believe me, if there's one thing I know how to do, it's numbers. Okay, so I completely understood, and I did it with great gusto. Starting from nothing in 3 years, I had over $1 million net worth, 125 properties. Okay, so starting from nothing in 3 years. So I didn't half but do it. I did it all out. I mean,
you dove
I got
straight in.
PhD and DUMB, and I knocked it out in a short period of time. You know, so and here's the thing I discovered, Christine. I've not directed at him. By the way, for you, sir, you are an engineer, which is the number one of all careers most likely to be a millionaire. When we studied Millionaires, number one was engineer, number two was accountant, number three was teacher. Okay, so you got a lot of good stuff on your side. Just don't fall into get rich quick. So in our day, they didn't call it passive income. They called it nothing down. And there was a guy that wrote the book was called Nothing Down. It was a best-selling book. And a whole bunch of people, including me, followed a lot of his strategies on buying a house with no money, because that's precisely how much money I had, none. So that's all I could use. So I used other people's money, OPM, talked the bank into 100% financing, 90-day notes. I bought a property, made money on it, bought another property, made money on it. Every time I made money on it, the banker gave me more money. It was a nice formula, and until it wasn't nice anymore. And, a few years later, the guy that wrote the book went into bankruptcy.
Ouch.
I joined an investors group, a real estate investors group that were following this guy's, he put together groups in cities. They were following this guy's guidelines and got to be friends with a bunch of guys. We would, one of us we couldn't do a deal. We find a deal. We find somebody else to do the deal. We give it to one of our buddies, right? And we swapped it around. There was probably 60 people in that group that were doing this stuff actively. 10 years later, from the time we all started that, how many of them were still buying real estate and not broke? None. Nobody made it. Not one. I take that back. 2 guys made it, but the reason they made it was they woke up watching the rest of us go broke, and they turned a whole bunch of their properties, took the equities, and paid off the rest. They became debt-free, and they came out of it with about 30% of the property, but it was all debt-free instead of leveraged to their eyeballs. And they reverse engineered and got out with by the skin of their teeth. And I ran into one of those guys the other day. That was 30 years ago. He's still buying real estate, and he's still healthy. But he was one of the few smart enough to look at the rest of us and going, these fools are all going broke doing the same thing. And I was one of those fools. So, but you find people that get rich in real estate, they're not ones that leverage up to their eyeballs. It's hard to find somebody who follows this passive income crap and 10 years later is not broke. It's very difficult to find 10 years later a real estate investor that follows that plan. They're very rare. They're unicorns.
But you can still invest in real estate with
cash. Pay cash for it.
I mean,
cash for it.
Look at you now.
I own a bunch of real estate, but just pay cash for it and grow slower, and don't try to go follow all this mind-numbing get-rich-quick stuff. Thanks for tuning in to Ramsey Everyday Millionaires. To check out all our podcasts, just search Ramsey Network on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen.